Normala or Millie. So my dad always used to tell me what my name meant, and it was something like immaculate or, I don't know, clean, pure. I was born and raised in, well, I was born in Maplewood, Minnesota, and just raised one city over in North St. Paul, Minnesota. I would say probably with like our extended family and the cousins and like I guess the aunts, the cousins, and like the second cousins, I would say probably like 35 or so. My dad was the of my uncles and aunts, my dad was the youngest of 8 children. So he was the last one to come here, and that was 36 years ago, 37 years ago. But he was the last one to come here. So I want to say with the age gap between him and the oldest brother that came here, if I'm going to make an assumption, I would say about 50 years ago. My dad kind of was just like, yeah, my brothers kind of encouraged me to come over here because there's more to offer. And, you know, for them, it's kind of like a huge family pride thing being able to come over to the U.S. My dad's oldest brother who came here, he sponsored my dad to come over, and he sponsored a few other brothers in between to come over and get all of them acclimated with the culture and get them jobs and everything like that. One thing that you have to remember is with India, coming to America is like the ultimate goal. Like, I guess it's not like the ultimate goal, but Indian culture is you as a parent, you give 110% to your children, and that's it. You know, you do everything for your children's education, and your child can become a doctor and an engineer in India, and that achieves your family takes so much pride in that. But also just coming to America, there's a huge sense of pride in my child went to America. Like, my child got out of this third world country and went to America, the land of opportunity. Over here, my dad works for the post office, like the postal service, and I don't actually know what my mom does because they separated about 15 years ago.
What about in India?
In India, they didn't really do anything because my father went through all of his schooling there, and then he worked for the Indian military. Like, he was going through a bunch of exams for India's military. His brothers encouraged him to come to America, so he discontinued his military education. It wasn't even that they encouraged him to come to America. He discontinued his military education because his mother got sick. So he moved back home for a little while, got a master's degree while caring for his mom, and then she passed away, and then that's when his brothers encouraged him to come to the U.S. Well, the one, they're like cement, or at least the houses that I remember living in were almost like cement. So it was almost like living in a basement, more or less, but an above ground basement. The funny thing is in India, the one distinguishing factor to me in regards to homes is they don't have windows. Like, you're kind of seen as an idiot if you put windows in your home because of the fact that people throw rocks at them. So, and it would be like a daily occurrence that you would just get your windows broken.
Why do people throw rocks at windows?
It's just, you've got the rich and the poor all living together. Poor is poor there. My dad's was like a 1-level home, but it had 9 rooms, but the rooms were like smaller rooms. So the rooms were probably like 2 of these tables, each room. Or at least I want to say 6 of the rooms were like that. And then the other 3 were kind of bigger. And then there was like an outhouse, and it was like a fenced in property. But it was 1 level. And then since in India, a lot of the time it's so warm, you could just sleep on the roof. So they had like a ladder going up to the roof, and everyone would just kind of sleep on the roof.
That'd be cool.
And then at my mom's house, it was a 3-story house, but it's like the first story was like more of a closed off home, and then the second story had a lot of like open windows, and then like the third story was more like a deck, and then it just had like a little house, like not even a little house, it had like one enclosed room. So we would go up there because it was so hot inside the house, and we'd just sleep up there with sleeping bags. Wealth here is very different than wealth over there, because here you have like cities that, you know, like in Minnesota, Edina is a wealthier city, Eden Prairie, like that area. It's known for having nice homes and so forth, and then there are other areas that just aren't that great. But the thing is there's like distinct separations between between upper class, middle class, and lower class. And in India, there is no separation. So you may have a multi-million-dollar property, or rupee, I don't really know how it converts, but you may have a beautiful home, but at your front doorstep, as soon as you open the door, there are people that are homeless begging for food. So it's, even though you have this wonderful home, you still don't really live, like as soon as you walk out, like past your property line, there's litter, everything under the sun. It's filthy, it's dirty. So over here, like we have our fairy tales, we have
Cinderella.
Yeah, Cinderella. We have all those, Aesop's fables over here to like teach our children like valuable lessons in life, like how to behave in society. In India, it's kind of funny because I remember when I'd ask my dad to tell me a story when I was little, he would tell me stories about Indian, like Hindu gods, and like how, like, not necessarily like what they're known for, but I remember there was one, and I think it was about like Lord Shiva, and I remember I was so angry one day for something, like I don't know if my brother was playing with a toy that I wanted or what, but I remember I started kicking the wall, and I was just going nuts out of my mind, just kicking the wall and crying. And my dad was like, you cannot, like, he's like, do not kick a wall. If you want to cry, go for it. Go ahead and cry your eyes out. But he's like, you will not kick a wall. And I was like, why? And he was just like, well, I guess there's like an Indian story about how like a child was misbehaving or something, and Lord Shiva came out of the wall to like kind of punish him. And so it was kind of like one of those, like a lot of my bad behavior would be like when my dad was trying to like teach me how to behave in society or in the world, he would use, instead of using like Aesop's fables over here, which I heard at school, he would tell me all the stories of Hindu gods, or how they came to be and so forth. And so, well, when it comes to, I think if like I were to get married and have kids, like the two big things would be, I would probably be like more strict on education than my father was to me. Okay. Because I feel like I'm almost at a deficit, especially with others within the Indian community that are here in America, because they, I can understand my language, I just can't speak it fluently. So that's like one thing that I know some kids, they were like, yeah, our parents, like, with not having a mother at home, my dad didn't have anyone to speak Telugu with, really. Mm-hmm. So it's like I never heard it, so I never really caught on to a lot of it. So, and I know other kids that kind of had the same issue, like, so their parents would send them to Telugu classes, like every Saturday morning kind of thing. So they got the language and they're bilingual and whatnot. So I would say, like, I would probably actually be like way more strict on my children than my father was in regards to education. In India, it's not like you fall in love, it's you learn to love who you're with, which I just like watching that, like watching how my relatives interact, even how my parents interacted, even though their marriage failed. It's kind of interesting just to see that. I mean, it forces you to take marriage on as a team effort,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there are negative, like, I mean, everyone's going to fight when they're together for however many years, but it's just a team effort. It's always like a friendship. Like, yes, you love the person that you marry, but it's always like I feel like it's almost like a stronger marriage. And yeah, the divorce rates there are significantly lower due to the fact that they are viewed so negatively in culture and in society over there. But when you look at like successive families, the statistics are significant over there. It's an arranged marriage. You might not adore the person, but you learn their good qualities, their bad qualities. It's a friendship, and you learn to love them. And it's funny because even though my parents' marriage ended, like, my dad still sits there and like he will talk about like the friendship that he had with my mom, you know, and like monumental moments that they went through together. So it's kind of like you still hold it's just very different. You learn to love that person, and it's like the greatest friendship of all times. Like, it's almost like it turns into hanging out with your best friend because you've been through so much and you understand like society's restraints, the caste system's restraints, cultural restraints, and you work through them together, which just across the board can make us more solid foundation. It's common in weddings to have like your hands and feet henna tattooed, and it's just, the designs are so intricate and they take so long to do, include a lot of people. They are very, very, very expensive, because you can imagine just like the clothing, the fact that it's a 3-day event, and like it's not like, and then the ceremony itself is usually very, very extravagant. Saris are just so intricate, so beautiful, the finest quality materials, like they're silk, and then they're embellished.
Tell me about your most embarrassing moment.
My mother's side and my father's side, everyone was an arranged marriage. Oh, excuse me.
We're not editing that, but I think I was a freshman, and I was playing baseball, and my jockstrap broke.
Test 1, 2.
Oh, God.
By your forehead. That's about it.
Oh.
I'm like, can we go get a pizza now? And she's just like, you mean you don't want curry? And I'm like, okay, how Indian do you think I am? Like, I'm still human. Like,
still an American.
I had to safety pin it because I was a catcher, so I actually needed it. And so I safety pinned it together.
Okay.
And when I was up to bat, I got a hit, and so I started running down first base, and it came it unsnapped and poked me right under my...
So only...
I know, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to take you to like a diversity class so you can meet new people too.
I know. She goes, I swear to God, if you don't meet a Chinese person soon.
And so it hurt really bad, and I knew something was wrong, so I asked for a pinch runner. And so then I went into the dugout, and I couldn't get it because... first of all, how do you explain to everybody else, all the guys, when you're reaching down the back of your pants trying to figure out what's going on? I had no idea. It's not like I could ask for help because it was down there.
So you think you would be...
Positive aspects of arranged marriages.
I have a question too, though.
Okay, well,
you've been asking questions all day. It was very embarrassing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And what have you been doing?
I've been documenting.
Oh, you haven't been doing anything. You've been texting your girlfriend.
Look at that. That's the chronological order.
Positive aspects
Don't
of
fight
arranged.
in front of your friend.
I feel like when I say footage, I feel like I'm on Fighting Bigfoot.
Oh, God.
What's wrong with that question?
How was the United States everything that was cracked up to when you first got here? Was it
She was born here. So yes, when I first got here, it was great.
Like,
known me for 5 years, and you're like, "Were you born here?" I'm like, did you think I came when I was 7 because of my thick accent? Like, I hate you. So if anyone's looking for a roommate, I have a 3.5 bedroom house that I need to fill. So